you. I'm so happy that you're here for episode 134 of Scar Bearers. I'm Chris DT Gordon, and as you guessed it, it is great to have you here with me today. Along with me on the ride, and you can't see them, but they're there, are Nate and Britton Barron. If you want to give them some of your love and attention and possibly a project to work on, you can reach out to them at Nate Barron. Well, folks, as you probably hear other YouTubers and podcasters ask, please like this episode, share it, subscribe to the show if you haven't done that, because that really helps me help others share their messages of hope and inspiration, and I would greatly appreciate it. Well, I want to get right to it. I am joined by a fellow member of the Chris Squad, and we also have other similarities in common. Chris Spath. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. So where are you contacting me from?
I am in Gilbert, Arizona.
Gilbert, Arizona. So you are probably not experiencing 20-degree weather right now like we are in Minnesota.
70 degrees and beautiful outside.
Nice. Oh, perchance to dream. Well, wait, actually, it was like that a few days ago. So welcome to the Midwest.
Right.
So excellent. So what do you do in Arizona?
I'm actually a stay-at-home dad. You know, ever since after my arm, actually, after necrotizing fasciitis, I never went back to work. Not because I couldn't, but it just made sense for our family. We have 2 kids, and just the cost of doing that, and my wife's career was taken off, so I got tapped with the duties. So I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I homeschool my own kids.
Fantastic. And so, and how long have you been doing that for?
It's been 5 years now.
Okay. All right. So COVID really didn't hurt you guys too badly, did it?
Not at all.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm an online teacher. And so I've been doing that this is my 11th year. So I wouldn't have really been affected by COVID other than the fact that my wife, who is also a teacher, and our kids had to come home. So I had been regulated to the office for the rest of the school year. So, that was the worst thing. And so I'm lucky that that's the worst thing that happened to us, is I had to be sequestered to my little cave here. So as you mentioned before, you are also a survivor of necrotizing fasciitis. And a lot of people tend to think, oh, they got it the same way. Well, that any listener to my podcast would know that is not the case. And so, Chris, could you tell us a little bit about your story and how you've come to be on my show today?
Sure. So if we rewind back to 2016, I was kind of a disaster of myself, and I was a type 2 diabetic. I was over 300 pounds. I was not taking care of myself, my health wise. And I worked a 50-hour-a-week job, and I worked at a desk a lot, and I would type a lot. And when I type, I'd have my elbows on the desk. And I wound up getting a little pressure sore right here on my elbow. And I popped it like it's a pimple or something.
Yep.
And that was Christmas Eve, 2016.
Okay.
And
the occasional, the holiday popple pimping. Yes. We celebrated all over.
So by that evening, I had a big red spot there that was getting hot to the touch. And I've had some medical training in the past. I used to be an EMT, so I knew like signs of infection and whatnot. And it was red, hot to the touch. So I was concerned at that point, and I told my wife, but it was Christmas Eve, and she said, "You better not ruin our Christmas." So I stuck it out, and I didn't sleep that night. And the next morning, before doing presents with the kids, I said, "I can't do it. I got to go." And I had a 103 fever, and off to the hospital I went, and they admitted me, and I was there for 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
After that, she felt terrible, of course.
Yeah. Well, you never know. I mean,
yeah.
I scratched my right hand on my garage wall. 3 days later, I wake up with a bump on my elbow. The night before, I had gone bowling with my wife's colleague. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe I twisted my elbow wrong, trying to get a 7-10 split.
Right.
Having no idea that I had NF in my elbow. So you never know. So I hope she doesn't
Sure.
feel bad anymore about that.
No, she doesn't. I give her a hard time, but
All
yeah.
right.
So that was the big thing, you know. And I wound up spreading up my arm, and you know they didn't diagnose it at first, and they couldn't really figure it out. And it actually took. Speaking of the elbow, it took an orthopedic. They brought an orthopedic doctor in to look at it, thinking something with my elbow, and he looked right at me. He goes, "We need to get you out of here. You need to go to this other hospital right away." And like within an hour, I was at the other hospital, and they're taking me in for surgery. And woke up a week later after 8 surgeries or whatever it was, and
Okay,
made
this is
it.
crazy.
Made it
This is
through.
crazy. It's like I'm looking in a mirror. You get taken to a different hospital. You get put in the surgery shortly after reaching that second hospital. You're in a coma for a week. It's like, stop stealing my story, Chris. Really, it is interesting, as I said before, that we get it from different ways, but it's also interesting how similar our stories are.
Yeah.
So, obviously you had to, it looks like from, I know the podcasters can't, podcast listeners can't see it, but your arm definitely has skin grafts
Yes.
from it. So how, where did you get the skin grafts from?
So they all came from my legs,
Yeah.
my thighs and my calves. I don't remember how many different surgeries. The blade didn't work, and they graft half of it, and I had a wound vac on there, and it was a very traumatic few weeks in the hospital until they finally got it all worked out. And then the dressing changes on your legs. That's no fun.
Oh, dressing changes are the worst when they start.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember my nurses, the first time, well, I have a much bigger section, but the first time they had to do dressing changes on me, it took 2 hours. And they had to actually create a device to put the the covering on my arm, and they had it down to like 20 minutes after a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's an ordeal. People don't think that much of it, until you actually have to do it without causing more injury.
Right.
Yeah. So so as you're going through your 8 weeks and you have the wound vac on and you're getting these surgeries, what was going through your mind as you are experiencing this? Because yes, you're going through a traumatic physical experience, but the mental part can be just as damaging, if not more.
Well, what was going through is as much pain and hell in one sense. I was also very grateful because in the hours before that doctor diagnosed me, the other doctors were telling my wife if there's anybody nearby to come see me, because my blood pressure was like 60/30, and I was going fast, and they didn't expect me to make it much longer. So hearing that, and so what I was going through was very traumatic and scary. You have 2 little kids and a wife, and then to wake up a week later, and then not only do I still have an arm, because I thought at least I would lose my arm if I did make it, I still have an arm, and I have my life, and my family's there. And so I was so grateful for that. And that kind of overpowered the misery of being there and the pain of all that. They give you good drugs and all that too to make it through that. But that was and then coming home, it was just like this daunting future. What now? And at the same time, there's 2 tracks. There's kind of a lost portion, and then there's a grateful portion at the same time.
Yeah. So really, I want to explore that, the Robert Frost paradigm, parallel you just talked about. But I do have to get back to the drugs real quick. Did you have any like outstanding hallucinations? And by outstanding, I mean like they just stand out in your mind, that they almost haunt you with how vivid they were?
No, I don't have any memory of anything negative like that. I mean, the biggest challenge, and if anybody's listening that has gone through this, maybe they can relate, but when the pain starts to go away and you still need the meds, that's a big demon there,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's easy to like keep on. It was months that I still was taking the meds, and I just had to go to my wife and say, I don't need these meds anymore, but I can't stop taking them, so I need your help.
Yeah.
So that was tough, and that was probably the biggest demon I had to face with that. And then after that, then it's like the clouds lift and everything's so much better.
Yeah. So were you on, like, I was on oxycodone, OxyContin, Zyrtec. You're on any of those ring a bell?
Dilaudid,
Yep. Yep.
which is like the hard stuff, and then also uh oxycodone is a Percocet, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like one would last all day or something, and then one was like as needed. And you find yourself, oh, I need it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And that was a big demon to slay.
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason I mentioned the hallucinations was because of ketamine. And this is your interview, so I don't want to get too much into it, but it's sometime you and I should talk. It was pretty interesting, talk outside the interview here. But I do want to get back to that fork in the road you're talking about.
Yeah.
The loss versus the gratitude. At what point do you remember specifically what point it was where you said, okay, enough of the woe is me. Now it's going to be the what now road.
Yeah. So after I came home from the hospital, there was a lot of recuperation and rehab, and I was going to rehab a few times a week, and I was in a lot of pain still, and I was going through all that. So although I still had that gratitude, I was still kind of needed help with stuff, and feeling sorry for yourself a lot and everything. And I started to think about what happened and why, and because I have a curious mind that way. So I just started doing research, about necrotizing fasciitis and about what causes it and why. And that can be different in different people and different things, but a big driver of it is, metabolic health.
Yeah.
And, after getting off all the meds, I was on a bunch of different meds, not only for pain, but they had given me anxiety meds because of, the pain medications cause anxiety, and then they give you anxiety meds. And so there's a cycle. So I just quit everything. And then said, I'm gonna fix myself. I don't want to ever have this happen again. And I can sit here and worry about that, or I can do everything that I can do to try and prevent that from happening again. And now, sure, I could swim in some toxic water and it could happen again, but I'm going to make sure it's not going to happen because I can't stop eating pizza and ice cream every day,
Yeah.
So I decided to start changing how I eat. I changed, exercise, started doing all this stuff. I lost over 120 pounds in about 9 months.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I had diabetes. It was gone. I was off every medication. And I just felt like now I'm in charge, at least. Some accident can happen, some bad thing can happen, but it's not going to be because I was wallowing in misery, just eating myself to death or being that way.
Yeah. So, I don't want to delve too much into it, but what, have you ever pinpointed whatever got you to that part, to that point of being 300 pounds and, sedentary in the first place?
I always was, I was a chubby kid in high school, and I always just loved eating. I went in the military and I had to lose weight to go into the military. And then when I got out, every year was 10, 15 pounds and 10, 15 pounds. And I just never always had a problem just overeating, and I don't know if there was something I was compensating for or what the psychological part of that is. But I think maybe this experience kind of turned a switch to go the other direction,
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you,
those things never had consequences before other than clothes that didn't fit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So once there's a real consequence like that, and you almost lose your life, and you're like, okay, this isn't the only consequence either. There's other things. I could have a heart attack, or I could have this or that.
Hmm.
So I'm going to do something about it.
Gotcha. Well, I have to say, you look phenomenal.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have known that you had that issue had you not said anything. So I guess that's a great testament to your drive and determination. So what do you do, to keep the weight off and to stay fit? So nothing like that it has less of a chance of occurring again.
So what in my research I found, obviously, that a majority of cases of necrotizing fasciitis are in type 2 diabetic people, or insulin resistant at least. So blood sugar, and that was a big thing. So if you don't want high blood sugar, the first thing is to eliminate putting sugar in. So we both my wife and I, she did it with me, so that was great. And she lost over 100 pounds too.
Wow.
And we both went on carnivore diet, and mixed with some intermittent fasting, and some long-term fasting too, 3-4 days at a time. We both did that, and we've stuck with that for almost 5 years now.
Oh, wow.
And
So,
we've kept all the weight off and everything.
Oh, excellent. Well, congratulations to your wife as well. So when you do these fasts, how long are they? How long do they last?
Well, normally, like when you say intermittent fasting, that would just be like maybe just eating lunch and dinner, skipping breakfast. So that would be like a 16-hour fast. And then eventually I went to like 1 meal a day, where I'll eat 2 pounds of steak and then not eat for another 24 hours. And then eventually we would do, 2, 3, 4 days at a time, here and there, maybe once a month, and just to kind of let your body burn off that store. Your liver gets full of excess fat and sugar and ectopic fat. It's inside your organs and stuff, and once you're fasting like that, you're just burning that out, and you want to clear all that out of your organs so that they can function properly and everything. And then the weight just starts coming away.
Okay. So when you started doing this, what was the biggest struggle? Obviously, you're used to eating more often, but what seemed to be, the demon that was trying to call you back?
Honestly, so my favorite, despite all that bad eating I had over years, my favorite thing to eat was always steak.
Mm-hmm.
I just always had potato and bread and then ice cream afterwards. So the fact that I could eat as much steak as I wanted till I was sick to my stomach and still just drop the pounds, I didn't have that real struggle. Also, I was addicted to the results. I was focused. The results were consistent the whole time, so it never got me discouraged or anything.
Okay.
And I had my wife with me doing it, and she was just as focused as well, and we were at the same pace. So it was almost sometimes competitive, like, I lost 5 this week, I lost 6, that sort of thing. And just having a goal at the end of the road to get to, and not gonna falter. Once you got to your goal, and then it becomes a little more challenging. Oh, well, maybe I can just have this thing here and there. And
mm-hmm.
and we've done that from time to time, and it always winds up being like, somebody who puts whatever their vice is, and I can just have one, and then that kind of spirals you, so you gotta be wary of that. But over time, we've managed to keep it the same. And I think just seeing our kids every day and not wanting to go through that again, I mean, that was a big impact on me, hearing, that might be it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm an older dad too. I'm 47 and they're 6 and 8 years old. So, I want to be around at least till they get out of high school.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm 48. My kids are 13 and 10. And I was 40 when it happened to me. So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from there. Really quick, going back to the fasting, when you started, did you find yourself becoming very irritable or, hangry at first?
No, actually. Funny things happens when you're not eating carbs. You don't have insulin spikes, and the insulin drives that hangry. And when your insulin's flat, then your mood's flat, and you actually kind of, as you go further from eating, you get more energy too, which is kind of odd. But a lot of people in the tech space and stuff, they'll fast to get more energy to stay up and code at night and stuff. You know, it's this new thing that they've figured out, that it's kind of like, if you think about, your body's giving you energy because it's time to hunt.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, the hormones all signal to go find food, which gives you actually more energy.
Interesting. No, that is that's quite the the mind shift.
Yeah.
When you think about it. So no, that's very interesting. So you say you're a stay-at-home dad, and you've been doing that for what, 5 years now?
Yes, 5 years.
All right. So really quick, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I'm just interested, what kind of curriculum do you use for the kids?
We use it's called Prenda, which in Arizona, it's considered a charter school.
All right.
It's kind of a mix of online and me giving through them, and then it's accredited through the state and everything, so it counts as that's free to me to use.
Yep.
It has a whole program for me to guide through them with it.
Okay, interesting. Now, do they have like a homeroom teacher or classes they have to attend? That's you. Okay.
They have core stuff like math and reading and stuff, and then they have different science and social studies things that I just go through them with. We watch some videos, we do little projects, and then they have their own. They actually sent us Chromebooks for each of them. Mm-hmm. And those Chromebooks, they have logins for their math and their reading, and they do 45 minutes of each a day, and we have to log a certain amount of hours over the course of a week.
Yep. Okay. All right. So really quick, I just want to know, because as a former student, we're learning along with my students, is there something that you learned through helping your kids that you're like, oh wow, that is, I remember that now, or something that really, that would, those like in the deep recesses of your mind that just came back to the forefront?
Not yet. Well, some of the things in like English, they're doing like predicates and suffix and these words that I haven't heard uttered since I was in elementary school or whatever. And
yeah.
So some of that comes back and everything. It's pretty simple at this point. So I haven't got to a point where I'm Googling it over here to figure out how to teach them how to do it yet, but I'm waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, when you get to middle school age, 7th grade especially, you might start referencing Google a lot more.
Yeah, I bet.
So what's in the near horizon for you, Chris? Anything that you're aiming towards? Any goals or projects?
Well, I started, so after all this, the diet and all that, I wanted to exercise. So I started training jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for 16, 17 months now. I just got my blue belt, and both my kids go, so we all go together. So it's kind of like family and also athletics and exercise, and there's a lot of camaraderie there. It's a positive environment. So I'm trying to just stay positive, make sure that the kids are getting everything they need, and supporting my wife how she can while she's working and doing all that. No big plans other than that.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Congratulations on the blue belt.
Thank you.
Yeah. After my ordeal, I started studying Taekwondo, and this past year I graduated. I earned my first degree black belt. So,
congratulations.
So yeah, thank you. So yeah, being an older guy, doing those kicks and everything else, you find that the desk job is a bugger on your hip flexors. So,
yeah.
Especially me being a runner, definitely got to warm them up a little extra before I start doing some high flying kicks. So that's very cool. You're doing jiu-jitsu.
Yes, I'm rolling around. There's other guys in my class my age too, but we're just smashing each other on the mats and stuff,
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, it gets the energy out in a good way.
Yeah.
Excellent. So Chris, where can people reach out to you if they want to connect with you and maybe share some stories or get some insights from you?
I'm on Instagram at Chris J Spath, ChrisJSpath. That'd probably be the best way.
Okay. All right. And then, I am a gratitude guy, and that's what I speak about. And as you are as well. And I love asking people this question, what is something that at the time came into your life and you maybe weren't as appreciative of it, but now as you look back, you're really happy that it happened or it came into your life?
I mean, I don't know if this is a cheesy answer, but actually the necrotizing fasciitis, like
Oh,
in a way it was horrible, but in a way it saved me,
mhm.
because I think if it wouldn't have happened, the path I was on, I don't know that I would have turned myself around and got myself together. So I don't look back at that as something that was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. That it's something that actually kind of a kick in the butt to go the right way.
I agree. But I find that it's amazing how your view of something that is so life changing, life threatening can actually be a blessing. And so I really I see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
And so, thank you. I definitely am grateful that you are here and you're able to have that outlook on it. And
Thank
so,
you.
I do have one more question though for you.
Mhm.
What is your favorite dinosaur?
Spinosaurus.
Ooh, I've only got a couple Spinosauruses. So why is Spinosaurus your favorite?
My son is obsessed with dinosaurs, and he's got miniature ones, toy ones, stuffed ones, books, everything all over the house. And his favorite is Spinosaurus. So he's always asking me or telling me facts about Spinosaurus. And so that's my favorite.
Well, you know what? You go with what you know. And it
Yeah.
seems like you know a lot about Spinosaurus. So excellent.
Or the Quetzalcoatlus.
There we go.
Because when he says it, it's adorable. So
very cool. Well, Chris, it's been an honor and a pleasure to get to know you, sir. And thank you for sharing
Chris.
your story with us. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Definitely. And so, folks, if you want to reach out to Chris, you heard it. It's at Chris J. Spath. And if you want to contact with me, it's at Chris DT Gordon. You can also go to my website, chrisdtgordon.com. If you want to hear more about the attitude of gratitude and how it can serve your students or organization, please reach out to me. That's why I'm doing what I do. And again, please like this episode, subscribe to the podcast, share these messages of hope and inspiration out to the interwebs so people can gain some more gratitude, positivity, and resilience. And with that, I thank you so much for being here with me once again. Please have a great day. And remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.